Hello everyone and welcome to the next episode of Let's Talk About. And I want to say sorry that it took so long, but I was way too busy during the holidays. And yeah. But yeah, this episode is going to be a bit different than the others, but I wanted to cover this topic since I started the series. I'm going to talk about my second favorite character in One Piece, the second in command of the Straw Hat crew, the pirate hunter Roronoa Zoro. Our beloved, always lost and always looking for booze green-haired swordsman. He uses three sword style, with obviously three swords, one in each hand and one in his mouth. He uses variety of different techniques, varying from a slashing attack that manifests tornadoes to techniques that bust his muscles. Now, let's talk a bit about his backstory. He was born in Shimotsuki village to currently unknown parents. He trained with a sword in a dojo in the village. He was stronger than most adults, even at a young age. But he could never defeat his rival, Kuina, the daughter of the dojo's master. They battled a total of 2,000 times, but Zoro never came on top. After one of the fights, they made a promise to each other, for one of them to become the strongest swordsman in the world. But before they could fulfill their agreement, she suffered an accident which led to her death, and Zoro promised to become the greatest sword fighter in the world, so that his name would reach the heavens. Zoro then received his first prized sword, the Wado Ichimonji, from his master and Kuina's father. Zoro first appears in the manga chapter 3, Enter Pirate Hunter Zoro, on August 18th, 1997, and first appeared in the first episode of the anime. Zoro first appears tied to a pole and is being called a criminal, wearing a white shirt, green pants, and green haramaki, which is the belt thing around his waist. Luffy comes across the sorry swordsman and immediately wants him to join his crew in exchange for freeing him from his imprisonment and retrieving his three katanas. Zoro agrees to become the first Straw Hat. From here, we see his victory against the first villain in the manga, Axe Hand Morgan, and his son Helmeppo. From there, the crew is formed and the adventure begins. Now we jump to the next enemy Zoro faces, which is Kabeji from the formidable Captain Buggy's crew. Despite Zoro's injury from Buggy, he manages to beat Kabeji with the slashing of a lifetime. Now, we could stay here talking about how much of a badass Zoro is, but that is going to take forever. So let's talk about the biggest and the toughest fights Zoro had, and some of my favorite moments that Zoro had. Which means we're jumping straight to one of the most memorable fights and moments Zoro has in the show, Zoro vs Dracula Mihawk, the world's greatest swordsman. The fight lasts for seconds. Mihawk allows Zoro to show his skills, but it is clear that Zoro has absolutely no chance against him. But Mihawk saw something in the struggling novice that sparked his curiosity. He allowed Zoro to leave, but gave him a large scar across his chest to remind him of his weakness. Zoro lay on his back, bleeding and crushed, but with his goal finally set, he proclaimed, "I will never lose again." We now go to Lockdown, where Zoro gets a new sword. in his arsenal, Sandai Katetsu. Despite owner's reluctance to sell it, stating that it's cursed, which leads to Zoro testing the sword, and he tested the sword with his luck by throwing it in the air and sticking his arm out, willing to let it cut his arm off. But the sword fails without even touching him. The shop owner is so impressed with his test of will that he offers Zoro a family heirloom, the ornate blade Yubashiri. From Lockdown we go to the Grand Line, to Alabasta, and his fight with Das Bones, the steel-bodied assassin. Zoro showed that he can cut or not cut anything. He shows his mind and slashes his opponent's unbreakable guard in half, which is really awesome if you ask me. Next to a moment that shows how loyal and serious he is toward the crew. Zoro threatens to leave if Luffy brings back Usopp after leaving the crew. He proceeds to state that what Usopp did was wrong and leaving the crew is no small matter. Later he adds that a captain must not let other people walk over him. And immediately after that is Enies Lobby. We see Zoro using a technique that we know almost nothing about, the Ashura. It's a technique which Zoro's become a three-headed and six-armed demon using whopping 9 swords. He uses this demonic form to defeat his opponent, to the covert soldier Kaku. Now to the most famous Zoro moment, and my personal favorite, the nothing happened moment, which gives me chills even just by writing about it. In the Thriller Bark arc, the Warlord Bartholomew Kuma wants to kill Luffy while he is unconscious and battle worry, but Zoro's loyalty shows once again. Kuma asks Zoro to take all the pain that Luffy sustains during the arc, all at once. Zoro tells Kuma, if I can't even protect my captain's dream, then whatever ambition I have is nothing but talk, and follows Kuma to remote parts of the nearby forest. Kuma summons all the pain, injury and suffering that Luffy had incurred during the previous battle, and without hesitating, Zoro plunges himself into it. The first to wake up from the crew is Sanji, Zoro's rival in the crew. He notices that Zoro is missing from the wounded and follows his trail. He comes across a massively damaged man who is pale as a sheet, drenched in blood and covering deep wounds and black bruises. Sanji is panicking and demands to know why he's so injured, but Zoro calmly states nothing happened. To this day, no one other than Zoro knows about the massive sacrifice that he went through for his captain and crew. We're almost reaching the end of this episode, so consider subscribing if you're enjoying the video, and with the ad break out of the way, let's proceed with Zoro's beginning his biggest rival and enemy, the current strongest swordsman in the world, Dracula Mihawk, to train him, which Zoro is willing to swallow his pride to help his crew. He spends 2 years training with Mihawk, and the powerhouse that we meet up with after the time skip is not the man we once knew. And we are now going to the island of Dressrosa, where Zoro faces off against one of the crime bosses Doflamingo's captains, Pika. Pika has the ability to control and melt with rock, which possess a major threat to Zoro. Pika creates a massive stone version of himself, which attempts to crush Zoro. Zoro narrowly manages to dodge the behemoth, but no matter how much he slashes into the monster, he doesn't even come close to harming Pika. Eventually, Zoro comes up with a plan to push Pika's main body into the arm of the rock giant, and he cuts into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces until he eventually defeats his enemy. And the final thing I will mention in the episode before it gets too long is Zoro's one moment against Kaido and his second in command King. Zoro survives several life-ending attacks from both Kaido and Big Mom. Then, sometime later, he fights King. He barely achieves victory against the fearsome opponent by using everything he has in his arsenal, and showing how far Zoro has come in his mastering of Haki. The fight is long and fearsome, and Zoro's best fight in One Piece to this day. Those are some of the best moments of one of my favorite characters in the entirety of One Piece. Tell me in the comments if you agree with me or disagree with me, and if you have other favorite moments of Zoro, tell me about them. And now, thank you for watching, everyone. Like the video if you enjoyed it, dislike if you didn't like it. We're going to see each other in the next episode, and until then, don't forget, have fun.